Visiting Wilkes County on business or pleasure? Stay in Wilkesboro at the Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, or Red Roof Inn and Suites. Enjoy Southern hospitality, cozy rooms, and a complimentary breakfast. Explore the mountains and then relax with us. You've earned it. Closed captions for this episode of Life in Wilkes is brought to you by Deal Insurance Agency in Wilkesboro, an award-winning, experienced, family-owned and operated agency with service and coverage that goes above and beyond expectations. Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating. Join us now and experience the unique essence of Life in Wilkes.
Mario, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Carl.
Well, I got to tell you, this it's an exciting time because we've been sharing stories about Benton Hall and the Wilkes Playmakers for some time. I think you will be our youngest guest that we've done some stories around the theater. But I think that's fantastic because Wilkes Playmakers, there's that side to the Wilkes Playmakers that includes all ages, right?
1,000%.
From one extreme to the other. And so let's get started. Tell people who you are, your name, who you are, and what you do.
Well, my name is Mario Chavez. I am an actor at Benton Hall, and I've been going there since I was probably about 8 years old. I started, my first show was Peter Pan.
Okay.
So my dad, I jump around a lot whenever I speak.
That's fine. That's fine. This is your first time, so
I know.
so
a little nervous.
That's fully expected. Don't be nervous. Well, let me set you up on one question.
Okay.
When I was speaking with Steve Kreitz about new shows coming up, he mentioned this show that you're going to be in, and I've seen this show before.
Oh, really?
Not at Benton Hall, though. But I'm a Steve Martin fan, so anything that he does, I'm likely to have seen it or attended, especially the plays and the movies, of course. And when I was talking with Steve, and he told me the lineup, the cast, and I said, "Are you in it?" He said, "No, I'm not in it." But of course, he obviously promotes everything that Benton Hall does.
Right.
And he tells me about you, and I'm like, I think I know that name. And then he tells me about the other actors involved. I was like, that's different. I mean, as far as the age difference, I'm trying to imagine, you know, a 17-year-old Picasso, and he says, well, he's going to be aged a bit. I was like, okay, I get that, but that's still a really big role. Right?
It is.
So you're taking on a role that's a bit more demanding than what you've done before.
Yes.
So let's talk about that, and then we'll kind of go back. But talk about what the most current thing we have coming up, which is a black box performance.
Yes.
And that can be intimidating as well. Some people think the big stage is more intimidating. You've done both, but the intimacy of a black box, and that's why it exists. It's to get
it's an intimate setting. It's supposed to have those shows that have a lot of movement are supposed to really, it's inviting, you know, it's really, really, really intimate. And like with the big stage and stuff, like it is, I mean, it's nerve-wracking, right? But it's just this huge open space. So you feel like you can really like let yourself go and be silly and just be an actor on the stage. But whenever I did my first black box show, I was so nervous because it was so nerve-wracking. These people are right there in front of you. You know, you're not used to that. You're used to them being like 10 or 15 feet away from you. It was really nerve-wracking, but once you really get into the character, you just feel the story so much more as an actor, and it allows you to really be goofy and silly on the stage, and it looks better on the stage for the audience too.
Sure. Well, it's very close, very intimate. It's like jazz music. You know, jazz music is best in an intimate setting, and you just kind of get absorbed by it. And I think black box performances are a bit the same way. One of the things that also intrigued me with your story, and we'll get back to the most current thing, but was the story about yourself and your family. And how it's a family affair. If you're on stage, the rest of the family comes along and participates in some way. Maybe not on stage, but they're there to be part of that. So talk about that for a moment. Maybe your earliest. Now we can go back in time. And how having family with you, and not just with you, but being part of making the magic happen. Because that's what they're doing. They're not just supporting you, right?
Right. Well, whenever I first started, again, I mean, I was 8, and my older sister did the show. It was Peter Pan. And I fell in love with it. We had just gotten done doing competitive cheer, me and my older sister. So we were trying to find like a new hobby and something to do. But she didn't, it wasn't her cup of tea, right? She just wanted to be at high school with her friends and stuff. But I just absolutely fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people. I made so much friends, and I just fell in love with the whole community and how they did everything. And I did shows for a couple years until COVID happened. And then I started back in 2021, and my family just saw how much I loved it and saw how much fun I have and how I left with such a positive vibe and everything, that they slowly, one by one, came in and started doing more and more and more. But now it's just everyone wants to do everything. My dad, he was so afraid of doing absolutely anything on the stage, and I assistant directed a Christmas show last year there. And I told him that he should audition. He was like, no. And then he ended up auditioning and fell in love with it. He's been in like 3 shows since then. He's in this Christmas show. It's amazing.
Have you noticed a difference in your dad after he's put his toe on the stage? Have you seen a difference in him?
I would say I do. He seems a lot more confident and more like educated in theater and stuff. Like before, I'd be like, oh, today's my off book day, and he'd be like, okay, so, and I'd be like, well, no, this is really nerve wracking because today's the day I need to memorize all these lines. And then now he's like, oh, today's my off book day. Now I'm a little scared. Can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, I'll help you.
Right. So you're describing something that I've heard a lot of actors describe, and it's how theater, and quite specifically community theater, has changed their lives for the better. Right? So you talked about falling in love with this. What was it about that experience that made you fall in love with it?
I think it was just mainly the people. Since it is just so community-based instead of not necessarily a business, like, I don't know what the word is, but it's a lot of community. It's these people of all different age groups. So no matter if you're 8 years old or if you're like 45, you have people that are around your age that you're going to connect with, because you get people from all over the community. This community has grown significantly within the last couple of years, and there's just so many different kinds of people, and they come from different backgrounds, and that's just a way you can bond through everything. And it's beautiful. That's all of my friends are at Benton Hall, basically.
It's interesting. What you've just described, maybe articulated a little bit differently, but not that much differently. That's what I hear from actors and actresses of all ages when they talk about community theater or performance in general. So the thing you were describing about the formality of it, and if you're on, let's say you're at the Blumenthal in Charlotte, you're on it's a professional performance, it's traveling from New York or wherever, there is a degree of professionalism, and this is the job, and everybody knows their role, they know their part, and they come in and they do it.
Right.
And there's not always the opportunity to do what you're describing, because you literally are, it's like the circus is in town, the show's in town. You entertain the people, and then you go somewhere else and entertain the people. And you do have your travel group that's there, but here you get to know new people all the time, don't you?
Oh, 1,000%, because we have so many events flowing and everything. And since it's not run like a professional, professional theater, right? You can volunteer through these different events, I think, because it's a volunteer organization. So you can do however many shows you want to. You can volunteer for how many events you want to. And the more events and the more stuff you volunteer, it's the more people that you meet, right? So, and then you can build these friendships and then also build like some skills, like life skills and stuff, like how to talk to people and like just how to, being on the stage really helps, like obviously your self-confidence as well, speaking to people.
That matters, doesn't it?
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%.
It's interesting you say 1,000%. You know, when I was younger, I'd say, 100%, 100%. So it got kicked up a little bit. Tim, what do you say back? 20%? He's old. Full cup. Oh my gosh. I think the amazing thing about what you've just described and being on stage and developing these skills to communicate. For a 17-year-old, if you compare yourself to your schoolmates, right, people you go to school with, the evolution that you've grown to in this short period of time of being able to communicate better, right, on stage. But does that translate to your individual interactions as well?
I think it really depends on where you're at, because I think it being a community theater really just because you have so many different people and then you have your close friends right in there. So it's a safe place. That's where you can be goofy and silly and stuff. And you see, if you go to a public school, I'm homeschooled. So, but if you go to a public school,
that's right. That's right. I'm sorry, I forgot that point.
No, you're fine.
You're not gonna be, your sister's not gonna be giving you a hard time in the hallway to class because that's home.
The hallway's just in between our rooms.
Oh, that's right. Okay, all right. Well, that makes that's important though, because there are a lot of kids are homeschooled, right?
And it's really let me, like, especially in public, like not feel so isolated and stuff, since really all I know is to be like goofy and silly and just let myself like bleed out into the community, right? But it's really taught me who I am and let me understand, at least of right now, what I know is me, right? But it's a part of me that I never want to let go, or I would never forget about it for sure.
How could you? I mean, it's who you are now, right? It's that evolutionary thing. I think the wonderful thing about learning to communicate and interact with people who are different, people you haven't met before, people of different ages. And that's a big deal as well, for you to spend time on stage with people who are younger and older, considerably older. That is an important thing, right? Because you're obviously, there's that connection that you're having during rehearsal, you're getting to know each other. That has to be incredibly valuable of seeing generational interactions.
1,000%. And honestly, because, so I have I'd say two friend groups, two main friend groups, right? So I have what I call my adult friend group. So that ranges from the ages of 22 to 65. And it's a group of 12 of us. I love them all dearly. And then I have my group of teenage friends, right? So that ranges from 17, so my age, and then to 12. And I also love them very dearly. But talking with my adult friends, it teaches me different ways of life and different perspectives and just how to talk to people more, right? And then with my teenage friends, they teach me, how to be silly and goofy and also just be myself, right? And they're just, they're so lovely to be around. And they do a lot of the shows as well. And I do a lot of shows with my adult
Well, the
friends
good news for you is, as you get older, you'll find that some of your older friends are also silly and goofy.
Oh, they are. They are silly and goofy.
You're gonna find that out. We may disguise it in different ways, but it's there. I mean, there's anytime you're allowing yourself to give the gift of story, to other people. You know, that's a little bit different. Yeah. Tell me what you're most excited about, the performance you're working on now.
I'm most excited to see how the story moves people, because it's a very intricate and delicate story, right? You have Albert Einstein, right? And he's writing his book of relativity and trying to find what the ending of his book is going to be, right? And then you have me, Picasso, just coming in for a late night stroll, and just, he's so motivated by, he knows what he wants, right? And he knows exactly what he's going to paint and what exactly he's going to draw and where he's going to be when he draws it, right? I don't know.
Was during the play, had Picasso introduced Cubism at that time? Or it was a little bit after?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been a little bit after that.
Have you learned things about Picasso and Einstein during this process yet?
Yes, I have. I've learned that they are both hilarious, and that may have been just Steve Martin. Like,
I was getting ready to say,
yeah, that may have just been Steve Martin writing it.
Colored by Steve Martin, but I think that people that have high intellect, and they both did, right, have a very keen sense of humor that's you have to be on your toes to see sometimes.
Yeah, it was the jokes were a little bit like hard for me to understand, I think, just because of my age. But once I read it more and got more into the character, it allowed me to understand the jokes to its full capacity, and it almost has me like breaking character on stage because it's so funny. But that happens with so many shows.
What are some of the other shows that have been impactful on your life?
I would definitely say Peter Pan, the second time I did it, because that was just this March, and that was my dream role. Like, that was the role that I always wanted to play, and I got the opportunity to play it. And my co-star, Chloe Skinner, she was an amazing Wendy, and that's what I want. I was like, okay, Chloe, you are going to be my Wendy, and I'm going to be your Peter, and that's final. And then we got those roles, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Now what?
I know, it was so impactful to be able to be like silly, because I had played silly roles in the past, but I had played them almost like I wanted to play Peter Pan, right? Because he's this child in this almost like teenage body, right? But he doesn't care what anyone thinks. He's just going to do it anyway, whether it's rude or not. But it's just, that is the funniest role I've ever played. And that really like...
So when you were doing it, because you did it twice, right? When you were younger, not as Peter Pan, but as one of the cast, and now you had that role. So how was that different for you when you were younger? Tell me what you were thinking then, and compare and contrast those two.
Well, whenever I was like 8 years old, I auditioned for Peter Pan, right? And I was really upset whenever I didn't get it. And then my mom told me, she was like, "Well, you might have an opportunity whenever you're older, right?"
So wait. So your first show out of the gate, you want the lead role?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's a kid. I'm a kid. Why shouldn't I be Peter Pan? You know.
Right.
But so my mom told me that I would have an opportunity, and I had a lot of fun though in my role, because I got to like flip around on stage and stuff. But whenever I knew that we were going to do Peter Pan the second time, I was like, okay, this is my mission now. I have to spend these next like 4 months preparing for this role. And
what'd you do? Tell us about that preparation.
I watched the movie like 50,000 times, and I was like, I need to understand what this character is, what he really is.
Which version of the movie did you watch?
I watched the original Disney movie.
Okay.
Yes. Because I had heard that Holly Petrowski, our director, wanted it to be like the movie, but also like her own, right? And I knew that I also needed to do that as well, because I needed to. That's the fun about theater and being able to perform these roles, is that you do it like it's written, but you also get to make it your own as well and put your own little twist on it. But anyway, so preparation. I watched the movie like 50,000 times and understood his body language and understood how he talks and how he does his like little crow call and everything. And then whenever I had went into the audition room, I was so nervous. And the first side that we read was the side that was just Peter and Wendy, and I was so prepared for that, right? And I read it, it went fine, and I was so nervous. And we left the audition, and I immediately went home and just started tumbling, because I hadn't started tumbling in a long time, because I did competitive cheer whenever I was younger. So I knew how to tumble, but it had been a couple years. But I knew that if I was going to be this role, I have to know it. And then whenever I got the role, I was like, okay, now I have to tumble on the stage, like, because it's a lot different. Right. It's a lot different than tumbling on grass than tumbling to like this hard wooden stage, because the grass like absorbs it and everything. Sure. But I fell in love with it. Absolutely. The whole process was magical. So
once you did the audition, then immediately did it tell you right away, okay, you're clearly you're Peter Pan?
It was a couple days after.
Couple of days?
Yeah, there was a lot of people who auditioned. Great talent.
Really? I mean, so you were up against some really good people. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We have a great talent out there, because we have, again, it's community theater. We have so much different talent coming in. There's always like the same like group of people that come in and audition for it.
But you weren't sad that you beat out these great, wonderful, talented
Well, of course
people.
I was a little sad for them, right?
Right, I understand.
No, but
my goodness. What an exciting story. I mean, you literally got to have the role. Will there ever be a moment in your thoughts from now to you're an old man of where there won't be a little part of you that's just like Robin Williams, and you're like, yeah, I'm always going to be Peter Pan?
1,000%. Like I literally last night was brushing my teeth and I was like, I played Peter Pan. Like I did that. Like 8-year-old me would have been so stunned right now.
Right. Oh, wow. What a wonderful story. I mean, I can't imagine that not being something that carries you throughout your life and from a confidence standpoint. Because that's not an easy role to pull off. It's full of theatrics, it's physical, it's emotional.
Yeah, I would say it was probably the most challenging physical role I've ever played, because whenever he's not talking, he's not involved in a conversation, right? He just like adds commentary here and there, which he just talks a lot, right? But whenever he isn't wanting to be involved in the conversation or just gets bored, he just goes around and prances and touches everything he can and just plays around. He's a little kid, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. When you think about that role, and we're going to move on to your other roles, but just in thinking about that experience and how it affected the audience. So when you were actually on stage doing this role, what type of energy did you pick up from the audience? Was that different than things you had done before?
It was. So there's about, in the script that we did, there was about a 15-minute break in the beginning before I came on as Peter, right? And something like really traumatic happened before I came on, and right whenever I came on, I would hear kids be like, "Oh my gosh, it's Peter!" And it made me smile every time. It was like that allowed me, like the feedback from the audience and the energy allowed me to play it even better than what I did in rehearsals, right? But I think it just really, with me and my friend Chloe as Peter and Wendy, it really allowed the audience to be so involved and feel like they are in Neverland and in the Darling household, and just completely, it's so intimate. I I feel like we really captured them. And
that's such a wonderful thing. I don't know if you've thought about this, but obviously the movie, the original that you watched, that was a long time ago, right?
It was.
And I think the interesting thing is from a young actor's standpoint now, when you're portraying something that everybody has a frame of reference on. I mean, everybody. I mean, if there's no one in the audience, into their 80s or 90s that would not have a fond memory of Peter Pan. So that's different. And when you're doing a classic role like that, that's different than doing an experimental piece.
Right.
Something that's different. So you're going to have a piece of the audience every time the curtain goes up, right?
Yeah. It was nerve-wracking at first, definitely, because whenever I got the role, I was like, okay, yay, I got this role I wanted. And then I was like, oh, like so many people have this expectation of what Peter has to be, right? And I'm like, okay, so I have to live up to the expectation, but I also have the opportunity to make it my own. And then these kids, because sometimes maybe the kids like had never watched Peter Pan, right?
Sure.
If it's someone really young, but their parents are like, okay, we're going to watch this. It would be fun for the kids. Maybe for some kids was their first vision of Peter Pan. I was their first Peter Pan they may have ever saw, right? So I really thought about that a lot. And I was like, I have to be the best Peter I can be. And
how old were you then when you were Peter Pan?
I was 17. I had just turned 17.
So 17. And you're having these thoughts about your character and how important the role is for your audience. So you were owning it, right?
Oh, 1,000%. I tried my best to own it, how, I guess, the best way I could, right?
Well, all right. Was the family involved with the Peter Pan production? What'd your mom and dad do?
So my mom did the sound. She found all the sound online and spoke with our director Holly and everything, and she did wonderful at that. And then my sister Ashlyn was a stagehand, and I want to give props to them because they work so hard. Sure. 1,000% so hard, because they have to move these really heavy props so fast in like 30 seconds. They have to change like the whole set from the Darling household to Neverland, and then Neverland to a huge pirate ship in like 30 seconds. And there's only like 7 of them, right? And I want to give really big props to them because they work their butt off.
Well, it just goes to demonstrate the magic of theater, right? And what everyone does have to do, and why those roles are so incredibly important. What'd your dad do in that one?
He acted with me. He was a pirate in there.
Okay, so he was a character. Okay.
Yes.
Was he nervous?
He was a little nervous. He had just done the Christmas show right before that, so he was a little experienced. But he was still really nervous. But he got to do this like girl scream, and he was really happy about that. I think he was really happy with how he did his role.
Were you saying, "Dad, you got this"?
Yeah, I was definitely, I think, his biggest cheerleader around that time. I always gave him, since I was running around so much as Peter Pan, I couldn't really be backstage most of the time. But whenever I had breaks, I'd go and give him a high five and say he's doing a good job and stuff, just to keep his mind up and no anxiety and stuff.
Sure. Okay, that's great. Now let's ease on over and talk about what you're working on right now.
Yes.
Which not everybody has seen this. A lot of Steve Martin fans, but they haven't seen the play.
Right.
And it's uniquely challenging, I would imagine, for all the actors to bring this to life.
Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, it's definitely fun. It is a mature audience show. Yes. So that's one thing that we need to let people know. And some people will say, well, what does that mean? And, well,
there are adult themes in there.
Right. Exactly. No surprises and nothing terrible, but it's just there are adult themes that are in there. So let's talk about that journey now on this show. How did you audition specifically for Picasso, or did somebody say, hey, would you audition for Picasso? We think you can do this?
So I got a text message basically that was like, hey, so I want you to audition for this role, can you? And I was like, maybe. No, I was like, sure. So I went in and I auditioned for the role and I got it right. And then I was like, okay, so I'm playing this historical figure. I've never really done that before, like an actual, like real life historical figure. And I'm like, okay, now I have to do my research and stuff, right? But I was also doing another show at the time. So right whenever we started rehearsals, I was like, I've spent all my time on the other show. I don't know what I'm doing, right? So I did some research and stuff and found some really cool facts about Picasso and stuff.
Were you intrigued by his personality swings?
I was, because whenever I got homeschooled in the 5th grade, right? So I didn't really know a lot about Picasso and a lot of like the facts about it. Okay. Or like even I knew who he was. Like I knew he was a painter and an artist and stuff, but like I couldn't like, if I saw one of his paintings, I couldn't point it out right in a museum. But his art really like, now that I know it's him and stuff, I really enjoy it and seeing all of the different colors and the different shapes and stuff. It really is intriguing to me to see that and know what his mind was going through around that time. And know now what he was going through at that time, or what Steve Martin said that he was going through, right?
Well, there's a lot of truth in the piece as well. There are liberties taken, but Picasso historically is someone that we wouldn't say had a coast through lifestyle. I mean, he really had some demons he had to fight with and figure things out. So Einstein. So now you're looking at Picasso and understanding who this person is. Did you also look at Einstein? Did you look at that, your cohort, the one that you're going to be talking with, and from a history standpoint?
A little bit. I didn't really. I was so like nervous about like playing a historical role. I was like, oh gosh, I have to put Picasso into life, because again, if people don't know who Picasso is, I'm their first I am their Picasso basically. But with Albert, playing with him is so funny, and he's such a goofball. He's definitely the comedic relief of the show. It's hilarious. But I didn't even know like that they had like cross paths ever. Like I guess I hadn't necessarily like looked it up or had learned it, right? But it's so much fun to play, especially with the actor that it is. Me and him are really good friends, and he's so funny. He does the role so well. I think Albert would be proud.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So how's your mastery coming along of Picasso?
I think it's coming along pretty good. I think I've really, throughout these last couple rehearsals, since just yesterday was our off-book day, actually. So
how'd you do?
I think I did good. I only had to call line a couple times. But the off-book days are really, they really change the rehearsal process and let you, since you're not holding a script on your hand, you're not glued to the script, it's just you. You are the role now. You have to really put your whole soul into this role, right? And
doesn't that also include as an actor? I mean, you want to always hit the lines, but sometimes things happen and you don't. But if you act well, you can deliver, your best memory of it. And it works.
Yeah,
right?
I think with it being a black box show, it really, since it is so intimate and getting into character so much, since it is such an intimate show, that even if I mess up a line or if someone misses a line and I have to save them, then it will be easier for me to be able to save them in character because I am so into the character now.
Right.
Modio doesn't exist in my mind right now. I am Picasso. Right. I live, in France and stuff. But yeah, it's just so intimate and getting into character. And I think being into character the most you can will help you memorize your lines. If you don't, you're just speaking from your heart, and your heart right now is Picasso. This is what he would say,
So do you find yourself when you're playing a role of, well, any type actually, but something specifically as a lead, do you find yourself taking on that persona? The deeper you get into, okay, you've got the role, and now rehearsal, now we're off book. Mm-hmm. Is there a bit of you that becomes that character?
I definitely think so. I find myself a lot. Okay, so with Peter Pan, I'm sorry.
Right.
This is just a really good example. So Peter Pan has just that iconic little stance, his arms on his hips, right, and his feet out. I would always stand like that. One of my first things that I do whenever I get a role is I'm like, okay, there's going to be a moment in this show where I'm not talking and I'm in a conversation with someone, but I have to stand differently each time. I can't just have the same Modio stance, right? So with Peter Pan, I would always have his hands on his hips, and I would find myself in the grocery stores waiting for my mom to check out, just standing like this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I can't. I'm Modio right now. I don't know.
So you're ordering an espresso, and you're like, standing there, and then the person's back there's like, what's your problem?
And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
I'm doing as quick as I can.
I know.
But that's great, though, right? Isn't that a little, I don't know how you look at it, but that's a little perk, I think, that gives you a chance to play, out in the daylight.
I know. It gives me so many personalities, I guess, I stand here like this a lot for Picasso, and I've been doing that the whole time, and I didn't even realize it until I said it.
Sure.
But it definitely it's also easier the more I do that just on accident and just me doing it by myself. It's easier on stage to get into character because this is just what I normally do now. And that changes for every single show because that's just how into the role I get.
Do you take a little piece of every show with you, though? Is there, if you look at all the roles that you've done since you're 8 years old, is there a little bit of each one of those that's not only part of your memory, but may have in fact affected who you are?
Yeah, I think so, 1,000%. Definitely how I talk sometimes. It's just my mannerisms change every single time. I'm doing a role, with Peter Pan, I was really childish, and my mom would be like, "You're acting like such a child right now." I'm like, "I'm Peter Pan." What do you mean?
Of course. Thanks for noticing,
I know,
Mom.
This is method acting. I'm method acting right now.
Yeah.
And for Picasso, all of a sudden, sometimes I just slip into a Spaniard accent, and I'm like, "Why? Why am I doing this?" Right? But it also helps a lot with the accents, right? Because I didn't know how to do a Spaniard accent. And now for Picasso, since I have learned and stuff, now that has put one more accent I can do into my book that I can use for a different role in the future, right?
So you've come a long way. Mm-hmm. Well, I know you're not going to believe this, but it's time for the curtain to fall because we've been going for a full set. We've gone for 36 minutes. And can you believe it?
No, I can't.
When you and your mom came into the studio, because you guys are a package, I expect to see your dad out there.
So I'm going to bring the whole family.
And your sister, I'm like the Von Trapp family. But, it was, I find that to be incredibly charming. and just a wonderful asset for all of you to be able to do this thing as a family. Maybe community theater allows that in a way that no other type of theater could allow.
Yeah, because we're not the only family. There's multiple, like, massive families that come in. Most of the time with our, like, new people that came in, especially for, like, the Christmas show, there's just so much families. And even if, like, it's just one person who's auditioning, whether that be the mom, the teenager, the really little kid, or whatever, they all come to every single rehearsal and every single thing. This is just another family coming in to be the happiest they can be, because that's what they're going to end up being by the end of this process. And they're going to want to come back. They're going to want to just feed off of it because it's so exciting. It's such an exciting building because it's a historical building. That's exciting. And this is just a wonderful organization, and it's just so well ran, and they have amazing directors and amazing people to talk to. It's just, they love it every time.
I'm getting the sense that you like it.
I think I do a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
Oh, it's been great spending time with you, catching up with you. I think of you as a young actor, but as I'm hearing the stories that you're sharing now, you're sharing some stories that older actors share. And that's a wonderful thing. So the Black Box Theater performance will be coming up real soon.
I know.
And it's an experience that a lot of people haven't had before, but it's a very unique experience. I find myself going to a lot of Black Box performances because I like that intimate experience.
I love those. Are some of my favorite shows to go out and watch.
It's a little bit like a dinner theater without croutons.
Yes, I've done so many dinner theaters with my adult friends. They write amazing shows, and every single one of them is a dinner theater, and I just love that intimate setting and the intimate acting. It just, I crave it.
It's a good thing.
It is.
All right, great. Well, I look forward to following your career, and wow, theater makes a difference.
Yes, it does. It really does.
That's great.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.
I've seen so many artists killing themselves over just wasting what time they're going to color anything. Why would they want to color something? I mean, all you have to do is you sit there and you draw it, and you take that pencil to paper and you push it as hard as you can, and you just transform yourself into that fourth dimension because you push the lead so hard into that paper that it becomes what you're trying to draw, correct? So why would you think to color anything? That would just waste time, correct? Yes.